Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany and today's video is going to be a little bit about abuse. I'm going to share some of my story with specific situations and just kind of some signs of abuse and how it really affected me throughout my whole life. So keep watching. So the two different ways that I was abused was physically abused and emotionally abused. I was mainly emotionally abused, but there was physical abuse as well. I remember one time we were going to a restaurant with a big group of people, and I guess I wasn't craving that restaurant that day, so I was like, oh, this doesn't sound good. Complaining, which I shouldn't have been, but this was no excuse for what my dad did. He grabbed the back of my neck and try to lift my body up and walked me out of the restaurant. So this restaurant was very busy at the time, and there were several people waiting. This was probably like 3 to 5 years ago, if I had to guess. There's so much that's happened to me, so it's kind of hard to know on the time frame. But he had grabbed the back of my neck multiple times, and I never liked it, but I wasn't going to say anything because it would just make everything worse, so I just kept my mouth shut. So he would grab my neck and lift my body up, but squeeze really tight and kind of push me out of the restaurant, and while he's calling me names and yelling at me and making me feel like I'm worthless and like I should just shut up and be quiet, basically, which is not true at all. You shouldn't. I also remember another time he got upset for something that I did and pushed me down, so I completely fell back on my back, which I knew that wasn't okay, but I also wasn't strong enough to speak up and say something. Also, when I'm talking about I'm talking about my father, who I have not seen for over a year and I do not speak to at the moment and have not for the past year. I've received a couple of gifts from him in the mail that I don't keep or I store away so that I don't have to deal with more trauma coming in, and I can just focus on healing my past instead of trying to heal and then new things coming in and me being abused even more, which is not okay. So the gifts that he has given me, I have either put in a spot that I can look at later if I want to, or I just throw them away so I'm done with it. I don't have to deal with it, and I don't have to see it. So back to the abuse part. Like I said, I was more emotionally abused than physically abused, but the physical abuse was there, and it definitely makes you feel like you have no power over your own life, really. You don't have any control, and you're gonna agree with whatever this person is saying because that's what makes them happy. I turned into a people pleaser just to try to make him happy. I mean, if I didn't make him happy or did something that was making him upset, then it would be even worse on my end, and I'd get yelled at and screamed at and possibly physically abused. So I just wanted to be quiet and make him happy, which he never was truly happy. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the emotional abuse. So I just have some notes here for my video, but some things that he would do to emotionally abuse me are calling me names. So he would call me an idiot, or just tell me, especially at the golf course when I would hit a bad shot, how horrible I am and why would I do this and why would I do that. It's very degrading things, making me feel like I don't have any worth and value, which is not true. So mainly just with his words, he would abuse me, but also with his actions too, definitely. Several things. You don't even really have to have a certain situation happen for you to feel unsafe around this person. In the moment, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You don't realize how much you're walking around on eggshells until you're out of it. Looking back, I was scared to ever go ask him to go hang out with my friends or my boyfriend, which should not be the case at all. So everything that I would do, I'd be like nervous and have this built up anxiety and stress inside my body. So it really just shows me how much I have been hurt and how much I have to deal with and heal from, which is okay. And I'm not gonna sit here 5 years down the road and still have the problems that I'm having now. He would also lie about like the stupidest things, about the littlest things, things that like you wouldn't even lie about. And I guess he was just in his own world of selfishness and trying to keep all the secrets hidden and in the darkness and not in the light. So I could imagine that if you're trying to keep multiple secrets in, that you'd be irritable and angry, and that's how he was all the time. He would have maybe 2 good days and then turn around and have a big blow up, and everything was everyone else's fault. It was never his fault, and we were the worst, and he would just leave. He would just leave our house. So the one night, if you watch my last abuse video, you know that he threw my phone at me and said, "Here's the only thing you guys care about." So obviously that's not true. The only thing that I care about is not my phone. But he puts you in these situations where you're very uncomfortable. You don't really know how to respond. I'm like, especially closer to the time that I was healing, I was really, really paying attention to everything that he was saying. So fast forward a little bit, we went to the park sometimes with him. So my mom had to put a restraining order on him because he was crossing many boundaries. He wasn't supposed to be coming to our house anymore because of the dangerous things that he was doing. So it got to the point where we had to do a restraining order, and he still didn't follow that. So he wasn't even supposed to be within, gosh, I don't remember. It was a certain amount of feet, I believe. But I was up at the golf course, and I guess he was at the same time, and he came up to me and was like, "Hey, what golf hole are you going up to? I'll drive you there." I'm like, "No, you're not going to drive me there." And luckily someone else was there, and they were able to offer to drive me out, and they did. So I was able to get away from him. But that's just one example of him crossing a boundary just to have his selfish desires and feel like rules don't matter to me. Like, I make my decisions no matter what the rules are, is basically his mindset. So once we felt like it was kind of more safe to get back to seeing him, we started to have visitations with him. So we would go play pickleball, we would go to the park and walk. We would also go to dinner sometimes, but we didn't want to be in a private place with him. We wanted to be in a public place because a lot of the times, even if we were in a public place, he would try to have these deep conversations about what is your mom doing, where are you guys thinking about moving, all these little things that I'm like, I don't want to talk about this. I'm trying to figure out if you're a safe person or not, and now you're wanting to know all these details about my life that you're making me feel very uncomfortable. Now, I wouldn't say that, but I would think it in my head, which was a step forward from where I was in the beginning, where I didn't think, oh, I feel uncomfortable. I was just like, keep your mouth shut and don't say anything or you're gonna get more hurt, which is really sad. So then we went to play pickleball, and he was on his phone a lot. And we also went to eat dinner after we played pickleball, and my sister had seen a poker game on his phone and asked him about it. He's like, "No, I wasn't playing poker," because at this time he said that he hadn't been gambling for a while, which was not true. He had been, and he was just trying to hide it. So the visitations went pretty well in the beginning, and towards the end of the visitations, he started being more irritable and back to his normal self, I guess, if you want to say. But he was always hiding things. He just knew how to hide things really well, and he was a really good liar, which is scary. Which he lied about everything, so he's gotten away with pretty much everything that he's done, sadly. He's had no punishment for what he's been doing and continues to do. So in the beginning, we'd go on walks to the park, and really it was kind of confusing in my mind because I was trying to pay attention to every little word that he was saying, and I was just recognizing the abuse that was going on and how he can twist his words and try to manipulate my sister and I. So we would go on these walks, I'd pay attention to his words, and if I heard something weird, I would start to ask questions about it and start to speak up a little bit, which really helped me gain my strength and confidence. Before, I feel like I had no self-confidence and no worth and really didn't even know who I was. So I really started to find my voice, and as things kept getting more apparent to me, God had given me the discernment to know right from wrong and to be able to really pay attention to his words and be like, that doesn't sound right. Like, I don't have to speak up and say something to him. Like, that's not right, but I can, and I have the power to if I want to. Most of the time, it just wasn't worth bringing it up because you'd just be running around in circles with him. Like, he would make another lie up, or he would just make excuses, and it'd just keep going and going. That was my pen. And it was just never worth arguing or trying to talk back to him, or not talk back to him, but just respond to what he was saying, really. All right, I moved spots just to change it up a little bit, but the reason that I really just wanted to highlight what has happened to me is because just remember that your identity is not it's not in what other people think of you or what other people say to you. It's about what God has said about you and what he designed you to be. And I just really think that that's so important with abuse, especially because this person has so much control over your life. And now that I've been away from him for so long, I've been able to recognize that and really take control of my own life and realize that my value is found in Christ, and that I have that that love, that true love from my Heavenly Father instead of my fake love from my earthly father. So it's really been a lot different this past year without my dad, and just remembering that my identity is not in the things that he has told me, making me feel like I'm worthless and that I have no value, but it's in what God says, and that how I am a daughter of the King, and that I am worth so much and that my value is so high. So I just want you guys to remember that, and I think it's something that has really truly helped me. And yeah, so I switched spots again to sit down, but I just want to say that for the past, I think 2 years, I've been going to counseling, and I think I'll do a whole video on counseling and how it's helped me, because without counseling I would be way, way different. And I'm so glad that my mom got me to go, and I'm able to speak the truth and just learn more about how I can heal myself. So counseling has really, really helped, and it's something great that I think everyone should do if they're in a situation like mine. So that will wrap up today's video. Thank you so much again for all your support and kind messages. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Bye.